Hello dear friends! I welcome everyone who is watching Sotnik-TV. Today is Wednesday, September 9th, 2020. It's 8 p.m. in Moscow and the Wednesday news show is on Sotnik-TV. Today we will discuss the events in Belarus that have now turned unpredictable. We've seen protest rallies, kidnapping opposition figures, as well as criminal prosecution. All this is natural for a dictator who disregards the will of his people and tries to break the spine of the nation. Let me introduce my today's guest, Maxim Mirovich. He is a blogger from Belarus. Hello, Maxim. Since he is staying in Belarus, Maxim is able to give us more details of what's going on there. Have the protesters in Belarus broken a psychological barrier? Are they going to transform their rallies into a real people's uprising and switch from a peaceful protest to a power struggle? It's hard to say what forms of struggle the protesters will use. However, everything looks like a mass people's movement. Or should I call it a protest against the usurpation of power? What happened in Belarus on August 9th was a successful attempt of an armed seizure of power. It's obvious for everyone that Svetlana Tikhanovskaya won the presidential elections in Belarus. Alexander Lukashenko was aware of the real result of people's voting. He obtained the number of voters who really supported him as a candidate. The citizens of Belarus knew that Lukashenko lost the elections as it was in the air. So when people took to the streets on August 9th and 10th, Lukashenko conducted a special operation of holding into power by means of armed force. A huge number of people took to the streets of Minsk and the rest of the cities. The protesters were going to express discontent peacefully. They opposed the usurpation of power. The acting president declared that he received 80% of votes during the past election, which was a blatant lie. So when citizens went for a protest, an armed force was used to dispel and to arrest them. The whole world is aware of the violence that was used in Minsk. The arrested protesters were tortured in a Krestina detention center that was turned into a real concentration camp. The protesters were punished for manifesting against the authorities. I'm unsure of whether this should be called a people's uprising. Maybe it should. But let me tell a few words regarding its form, as that was what you actually asked me. It depends on what the authorities are going to do next. The citizens of Belarus are ready to make certain moves in response to the possible aggression of the authorities. Let's now watch a short video from the city of Vitebsk. It illustrates the drama in Belarus quite well. This footage was made in Vitebsk yesterday morning. Such is the way the people in Belarus now react to the police. Police officers are the authorities, and such is the people's reaction they face. But here's my next question. As far as I know, so-called green men were seen in Minsk. Those are the soldiers wearing masks and no identification marks. They have been acting aggressively, and I wonder, how do people react to them? Are the protesters going to physically resist those gangsters in uniform? Let me tell you the story that happened yesterday. I witnessed the protest rally that was held in Minsk. People spontaneously took to the streets downtown to support Maria Kolesnikova, an opposition figure who was detained. I saw that it was mostly women who participated in this protest rally. Then some unknown security forces gathered downtown Minsk to suppress the protests. Those enforcement units were riding regular buses with no identification marks. They pinned those protesting women up against the wall. Those officers in black masks and green uniforms were going to arrest the protesters. I was standing across the street and saw everything myself. The picture I witnessed reminded me of movies about fascists. Those poor women were standing side by side, holding hands, so that the security officers couldn't grab them one by one. They were singing a Belarus folk song and were bracing themselves for detention. Since there were mostly women, they couldn't really fight back. But let me repeat the idea that I've stated in the very beginning. If the authorities make inadequate moves, they should expect anything from the citizens. There may be all sorts of things. Also, I don't really believe that those green men came from Russia. I assume that during the past 26 years in power, Alexander Lukashenko spawned a bunch of secret services beyond the control of the citizens. Nobody knows the exact number of the structure of those. But I think there must be thousands of people there. So those unrecognized officers patrolling the streets and kidnapping the citizens must belong to some special forces loyal personally to Lukashenko. Here's my final question for you. How much time do the protesters need to break the spine of the dictatorship? Are the people of Belarus ready for a long game against the usurper? This long game has already started. It began on August 9th. Personally, I knew from the very beginning that even though several 100,000 people initially took to the streets of Minsk in August, they won't be able to make Lukashenko resign right away. So I realized that it was a long game. The protest in Belarus is similar to the protest in Poland back in the 80s. And the citizens of Belarus are ready for a similar scenario. Thank you so much. It was Maxim Mirovich, a blogger from Belarus. Thank you for being part of today's show. On my own behalf, and on the behalf of our crew and the audience, let me wish Belarusians victory over the dictatorship in their country. You sure know some people who support Alexander Lukashenko. Are those people ready to oppose you if something happens? Are they able to stand against the crowd of protesters? I guess they will join the majority as they are not ready to oppose it. Well, in such case, I hope that the majority of yours will summon the will to demonstrate power. As an old proverb says, you can't make an omelette without breaking eggs. I'm afraid that you can't take the power without using force. Unfortunately, that's the way it is. I thank the audience for watching us, and I thank Maxim for being with us today. We will keep an eye on the events in Belarus and around it, as the situation that is rapidly evolving there is unpredictable. So make sure to watch Sotnik-TV.